one of 4 sides.
Are you doing another?
It's up. Then how many times I'll have to go over.
You are.
Have you seen this hologram camera online?
What?
Have you seen this hologram camera online?
What do you guys think?
Just sort of like little YouTube tutorial like that where you cut and draw paste and then you can like place it on your phone and it makes a hologram.
You gonna read something? Did you come to the time they did it in January?
Test.
No.
Test. Hello. Test. Hello.
And look at the link. It's going to take a long time. But I just get through it.
Yeah.
But I've only but I still can make the other ones.
I'm still.
Let's wait a couple more minutes for more folks to come.
It's some saws.
It's just I think the saw is gonna. Well, I don't know. We could use the saw.
Yeah. The saw you can control, and you can kind of cut. You might have to.
If you had something really hot,
I could melt it.
just like straight through, it wouldn't melt it too much, you know? Distort it. Get some like hot blades. Or now that you've done that, you can probably just like score it and break it.
Yeah. But I was worried about having enough pieces
Oh, I got you.
afterwards, but that is the right. I can score and break, which is basically what I just did.
Well, by the way, can you just look up pricing what's in there? I got mine on settings. I'm not gonna look at
I just click on it, please. Able to follow along. Okay. What else do I have to set? My water.
But might have to solder if the first one doesn't work.
Okay. Let me find the share the YouTube link.
Yeah.
Create like many different size triangles to get this to work.
You create 4 and then it becomes a cone. Okay, check out this video.
And this says use a twist scanner, or do we wait for our name on it? See if we wait. Next time I'll take a chance and bring the other computer.
You know.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah, dude.
so how should I make this? Just keep on. I guess I could just be patient.
If I were me, I would take that, I would do some like stupid shit, and I would take that, score it all, and I would put that on the burner and get it like white hot, and pick it up with pliers, and I would just stamp it out.
What will that do?
Well, like think about it. If you had this thing like crazy hot and you're holding it with pliers, you could just go like right through it,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. It's not a bad idea.
In fact, I mean, there may be some kind of tool that's like, I mean, you know, like this is kind of what I'm thinking of right now, where they have those things that get like hot and you cut nylon rope with them. It's like electric rope, because you couldn't use one of these. Well, there you go. Okay, it's like that.
Yeah.
It's just like a bar that heats, and you just put some, the plastic. I think that'll work. From that, it didn't seem like you have to be that precise. Except the better your edges are, like the better it will be as you walk around it.
What do you mean?
Like, because like when you're peering into it, if there's an area where there's like a gap, there won't be any.
That's why they should use
Yeah, that's why you would want it as tight as you can get it.
Alright, I think it's better.
Yeah, what was your name? What was your name? Max? These saw blades don't go to a saw?
I didn't find them.
Well, I mean, if they go to a saw, you just use that saw.
Yeah. Okay.
Xandar dash auto?
It gives you this.
What?
Dude, if any of the
It's
soldering
too
irons have a
small.
flat tip,
This
Oh, okay.
extends and that is messed up.
Right,
So
so-
I need like dash dash output.
Do you have Grandar installed? It's like, but it's nicer sometimes. If you want to adjust your local, so type Xandar. Okay, so this page. So we've got LVVS. That's your display. That's a 1366 by 768, but the other monitor wants to be at a different resolution. But if we kind of scan this, we see that, yeah, 1280 by 1024 is probably better. We should get something like 768. This support 1360 by 768. That's only going to leave 3 pixels off. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. So for output LDVS, so you see, oh, we can do 1360 probably, but because that's like not. Oh wait, is it valid mode?
1366,
What?
768.
How is that a valid mode? It wasn't. Okay. And it gives you FB for some reason as well. Maybe that, but sometimes it messes up. Sometimes it doesn't. Oops. Space. It doesn't like make sense. Better. And let me also do the other output, which is DF. And then we'll set the parameters. 67, 68. And set the frame buffer size to be set. No, it's still the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah, see how it's missing pixels on the left? So, see how it's missing a couple of pixels on the right side? And also, it's like bigger on your display. Oh, right, yeah.
Neither one.
So it's picky because the screen isn't.
Try 14 by 900.
14 by 900? Yeah, we could try that. But it's going to leave pixels off the screen. It's always complicated to do this stuff. Oh, fuck's sake.
Okay, it's too
oh,
big
shit,
then.
shit.
It's too big, that's why.
Okay, so it wasn't happy with that. Oh, wait. Yeah, so what we can do is set the FB size to be bigger, but the laptop size will just be smaller. So we'll have some wasted pixels, but it's usually okay. So let's see. If we set your frame buffer to be native res, right? And then if we set DFP1 to be your native res, and then we pick the closest. So it wasn't happy that 1400 by 900 was not large enough. It wants like 1920, I guess, by 1028. Oh, 1080. There's a way to stretch pixels if we get this working. Okay, so.
Oh, that's good.
LVDS, no, I think it's LVDS. That's why it wasn't setting this correctly.
LVDS.
Yeah, so you're missing a couple of pixels on the left and the top, which is unfortunate. Hang on, there's a way to do this with X-Train Dart, sorry. Where you can like set the offset, I think. So it's like left and top. I always have to look it up though. Let's see.
I mean, I don't really care if we lose a couple pixels.
On the top left, though, that's the worst place to lose pixels. If it's the bottom right, it doesn't matter. But. Okay, so I think dash X and dash Y. So we probably have 6x pixels, and I would say 20y pixels. A little bit more than that. Okay, it doesn't like us to specify like that. Oh, reflect. Okay, we don't want that. We want an offset parameter, so.
Should I go see if there are sub-reserves like somewhere around the building? Lost.
Yeah.
Alright. Right back.
POS, that's what I wanted. That's not large enough. Let's set the frame bit buffer. Aha! Okay. So, we want negative 20 by negative 20. A little bit better. It's like 30 by 30 probably. Hang on, I can get it even better.
Couldn't find anyone, so we're
Okay.
gonna start momentarily.
Are we live streaming?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to like restart it, or we can adjust the options later, I guess. How's that?
Beautiful.
So actually, this stuff only shows up on the big screen. It doesn't, but that means that I overshot by a little bit. So we probably want a 25, I guess. Maybe 0 by 0. Wait, do you have VI mode? Oh, you do. Sweet. Okay, so we only have left pixels that are off. So Marina, there's just gonna be extra pixels along the side, but
That's
your
fine,
screen
I don't
is
care. Thank you. Okay, let's start because we're late.
okay.
Come in. Can I just scoot you guys down?
No, no.
Hello, everybody. We are going to be talking about Git and GitHub today. Is this visible? Can everyone see this? Still getting settled in. So Git is a way to keep track of changes that you make to files. It's a very commonly used version control system. This is the type of thing that it is. It keeps, yeah. Why use Git? It solves the problem of having multiple versions of a particular file while you're working and making improvements. So if you are like writing a paper, you might have like draft 1, draft 2, in case you don't like what happens with draft 2, you can go back to draft 1, draft 3, etc. But in this type of system has a lot of limitations, both for text and for code. So when you forget what was in which version, there's no easy way to see what was in each file. There's no easy way to compare between two versions to see what's changed. There's no way to go back to a previous version. If you're like, no, I want this to be my version now, then you're like draft 1-3 and you can very quickly get lost. And it also clogs up whatever folder you might be working in to have all these different versions. So Git repositories, you'll maybe hear them called repos, are used to keep track of the files associated with one particular project. So to keep things orderly within whatever directory, say you have one project directory, you're making a website, within your programming directory, it's kind of, I like to make a new directory for each project I start, and each one of those will have its own Git repo. If you'd like to do this with me, so I am gonna So this is the folder that we were in last time. This is the fun folder. We've got an image, we've got 2 HTML documents, and we've got a CSS document. So to start a Git repo, I'm gonna type git init, initialized empty git repo, and then key git commands. This is kind of an awkward place for this, but that YouTube video, very nice. So I'm gonna go through sort of like a sample workflow for how I like to work with Git to keep track of my projects. So make dir for your new project, we already did that. And we put some files in it, then we did git init. Let's do git status. So what git status does is says, what's checked into Git, what's not checked into Git, what are we looking at? So, and what that means is Git will track changes to the files that you tell it to track, and then it can show you very easily what the differences were between different versions. And the files that so you could have like 1 million files in your directory, but Git might only be tracking 1 or 2 or 3 files. So what we're gonna do is going to do, and the way you add files for Git to be tracking is do git add, cat.jpg, fun.html, fun.html, and style.css.
Can you do that with directories as well?
Yes, but I would, back to this good practice, so don't do git add dot or git add star, right? So git add dot would be add everything in the current directory, and git add star is, also, it's like a different way of saying add everything.
I meant subdirectories within my project.
I think so, yeah. But again, it's not, I think I would caution against that because you will add files that you didn't necessarily mean to add all the time.
Okay, well, like in this case, it's like the database file that I didn't even do anything for. Like it was all just configured by Mongo.
Okay. Should be fine. Give it a shot.
Like the node modules package.
So node modules, you probably don't want to commit, actually.
Okay.
So now let's do git status again, what I like to do. So now it's saying we have some new files that we're tracking, but they're not committed yet, right? They're just staged for commits. So Git's gonna sort of like keep an eye out for them. And the way that you sort of save in Git is called a commit. And the way you do it is you type git commit, and then you can leave a comment for this commit. So I'm just gonna say initial commit. And then it says, great, we have 4 files changed. Now let's do git status again. Nothing to commit, working directory clean. So just if you like being really, really safe. So a few more good practices.
M or AM?
-am. So that does add, and -m just does a comment. If you want to do them both in once,
So what's the A? Is the add?
add.
So it's git commit dot dash A, which is add, and then M, which is with a message.
And if everything's already added, you, like, I just do it out of muscle memory, but you could do just git commit -m and leave a comment. So I like to make a commit for each bit of progress that I make, like really each tiny little bit of progress, because you never really know when that tiny bit of progress is actually a tiny bit of destruction that makes everything that you have blow up. So, and also if you stack multiple changes into one commit, you're going to have a much more difficult time going back to a particular version that you want. So commit messages help you track your progress. So I find it important to make really like concrete commit messages. And finally, it's not a good idea to do git at dot or git at star for the current directory, because you always want to make sure that you're adding, you know exactly what files you're tracking and adding. So say now you're tracking files, right? You have a commit. Now you probably want to, go back and see what some of your previous files were in case you want to go back. So each commit has a unique identifier called a hash. It looks something like that, a big long string of numbers. And the way you can see what commits you have in this Git repo is git log. So this has the name of the commit, who did it, and when it was done. And if you want it to be compact, oh, and it has the comment, initial commit. I like to do git log --1 line, which only gives the sort of last chunk of the first chunk of the commit hash and the comment. So what you can do if you want to compare versions is git show and then the number or then the hash to see what changed. So we copy this. We'll do git show. Okay, and so what you see, this is called a diff, which shows the difference. And you see the kinds of things that were added will be marked with a ++ and a --- what new files you have, and then it'll show the actual content that's changed. So plus and green is everything that was added in this commit, and minus with red will be everything that was subtracted in that commit, deleted. And it'll show it for every file that was being tracked and committed. So you'll see this is the other HTML file, and there's the style CSS. So I quit out of that, And sometimes you only, like, say you're only working in, your style CSS document, and you want to see what just that file looked like, not a diff, not the diffs for all of the files. You just want to see what one file looked like on a particular commit. You do git show the hash, and then a colon, and the name of the file at the end, like this. This is the format. So what I'm gonna do is git log -- one line, or actually I already had it up here. Git show, and then I do colon style.css. And again, this is just to show exactly the like as if you want, right?
And it will only show the changes between now and the last. It will only show that content, or those will be the only things that have pluses on them.
Git show will show the changes. But if you do this way, where you do colon style.css, for example, it'll show the actual contents of that file,
Okay.
not the diff. Okay. So now we know how to look back at what we've done. Did you have another question? Oh. What we've done in the past. And now say we want to go back to a previous commit. You can do git revert along with the hash. So let's change something. So we're gonna go down, we're just gonna say no, like that. Right, so let's do git status. As we can see, it says, hey, I noticed that you've made a change to fun.html. And git commit-am added no to fun.html. So now it says, great, you're all good. Now, git log -- one line, we'll see that we've got 2 commits in our history. And say we want to go back. Can you guys see that? Yeah. Say we want to go back to the initial commit. You can use this short version too. You do git revert. Wait, let's git revert. Sorry. Never mind, you cannot use the short one. I've unmerged files. I deleted fun.html? How did I do that? Wow, I have no idea how I...
Can't you just revert to it then, and it'll restore the file?
I somehow deleted like most of the files in the directory, and I have no idea.
That's just in the status.
That's just in the static.
You get stash if you're like, fuck everything I did. I just want that to go away.
This happened the last time I gave this presentation. You always get in some weird state.
So you always know.
Romy says it's always like that with you.
So one thing about git show, you can show the files from the previous commit, or you can revert the previous commit if you want.
I tried to revert.
What?
I tried to revert. That's how I got in this funky state.
What are you trying? So git log, which is the good commit that you want to go to?
Either I want to get to either commit because neither of the commits had only one file in it.
Try the other one.
The top one?
No, the second one.
Okay.
Do you git show on that just to make sure it's the right one you want to
No, it's got all the files.
With the colon and a dot. Okay, so
Yep.
you can check that out with git checkout. So
Can I do git revert to that hash?
yeah. Or, no, revert revert is like undo the operations. So what you
Oh,
wanna
so I would
check out-
revert the current commit. I think that's the problem.
Okay, yeah, you want to check out. So just do git checkout with a good commit. Dash B. No, go.
Yeah.
Checkout. Dash B. B.
B.
For B. And then you have to give it a name, but the name goes before the hash.
Oh my god.
Do git checkout dash B, the name of the branch, and then the hash. So,
Dash B.
yeah.
Please help.
Okay, enter. Now, so do git stash because there are changes. They're just like fuck changes. So now,
Look,
right, so
I
you're
couldn't
gonna
even
fuck
get
up
stash.
git.
What?
What I would do is delete the current repository and fetch it again from wherever you got it.
Wait, I'm gonna try one more thing. I'm gonna try to revert
No,
this
it's
top
not worth
directory.
fixing this. Do just the dummy commit to blow it away. Just do git commit.
Wait,
dash
wait,
A
wait.
and
I wanna
fuck
try
this.
one more thing.
No, don't do revert. Revert is not what you want. Revert is not what you think it is. Revert undoes the commit.
That's what I wanna do.
But I think it undoes a commit as opposed to applies the changes to the commit. So I think you want to commit what you have now so you at least can try to get into a normal state.
Yeah, so make a dummy commit that you don't care about.
Yeah.
Say fuck everything.
Change it to normal.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Now, do git checkout on a good commit that you cared about the state of things. Okay, yeah, but git checkout dash B. Git checkout dash B, good branch. This is branch.
Good.
Good. And then paste it with your hash. Okay, enter. Now QLS. Okay, great. So now.
All problems can be solved
But git
by other
branch.
people. What?
Git branch.
Uh-huh. Right.
Okay, so now you're on this branch. So fuck the old master branch. Just get rid of it by doing git branch dash capital D master.
Capital D master. Delete.
Yeah. So now you can do git branch dash capital M good space master, and now that's the master branch. It's like the old thing didn't happen.
Like the whole thing.
It was a
Git
bad
log. It was a terrible dream. Thanks, James.
Be careful when you revert.
Be careful with. Okay, I'll have to modify this slide
I
so that.
hardly ever use revert.
Okay. So
What do you use instead?
git checkout probably.
Yeah, I just make new branches.
Make new branches. What do you use?
I just commit and make new branches.
You
Yeah.
commit and make new branches.
Revert is trouble. I would avoid it.
Max, what do you do?
Git checkout and then
Only git checkout.
Yeah, nobody uses git revert.
Nobody uses git revert. Use git checkout. I'll fix the slides.
Branches are like if you want to try something else,
Yeah.
you would branch, git dash B, my new branch.
When you do your next one.
You have to be in a committed state actually to be able to.
Yeah, so I made a commit, and then make a bunch of changes, and then want to commit that to a new branch. So on my second commit, with all my new changes, I commit it to a new branch.
Yeah, I think you can do that too. I don't know exactly what the syntax is, but
What are you saying after the commit, make sure?
yeah, what I usually do is like, okay, I'm working on something.
The video's not showing?
And then I'll say, okay, I want to work on something else. So I'll check out a new branch, like a dash B. And
What
then
the
all
what?
the changes from where you were, right in your new branch. And then you can continue working.
Ah,
So
shit.
if you don't like those changes, you can
No, run here versus me. Burn it, it's fine. Don't touch it. It's fine.
You know what? It's not recording, but that's okay.
I'm playing though.
it never happened. It never happened. It's okay.
We ready?
It works. It's just like
GitHub. Now we've learned Git, right? Everything. We've learned very hands-on the situation with Git. So when we were working with Git, we were doing everything on our own computer. Like we were not going online, nothing. Everything was stored locally, not remote. So GitHub, this is a nice video that has an intro to it. So the way that GitHub works is it's a whole pile of repos that are, you can make them either private or public, but they live online. They don't live on your computer. You can sync them up, but they're not necessarily the same. They're not the same thing at all. So you can have a million projects in your local Git repos and no activity on GitHub, for example. And say you have a local repo, you're working on it, and you really want to share your work with other people. So you're like, hey, I should put my repo on GitHub. And the way to do that, when you already have a local repo, first we're going to go to github.com. Then right here, big green new repository button. And cat jaguar, I don't know, public. And then I like to not use a README when I'm doing this particular part. I like to start with a completely empty GitHub repository, because then if you start it on GitHub with a particular file and you try to push your stuff, like you're gonna have to reconcile that situation. So I find that it's easier to start with nothing. So I'm gonna say public. Okay, and I get this kind of, all this like crazy stuff. And so, but the important thing that I wanna look for here is this, which is like a Git address. I'm gonna copy that. And then, site will show Git URL in your terminal. You go back to your terminal where your repo is and do git remote add origin and then the URL. So what this is saying is, hey Git, in this repo, I'm going to add a remote location. Like I currently have my local location, but I'm gonna add a remote location. And I'm gonna add it, I'm gonna say it's the origin. So git remote add origin. Is that correct? Yes. And then the URL. Okay, so we're good. And the way that we can check if you're interested in what your origin is set to, you do git remote -v. And so you can see that if we try to push something to our remote repository, it'll go to this Git URL. And if we try to get something from GitHub with Git into our own computer, then it's also going to use the same address, right? You can have them different, but usually they're the same. So now let's look at our Git status. We're all good. We have all of our stuff. And we're ready to send everything that we have in our current commit to our GitHub repository, right? And so what we're going to do is git push origin master. So git push is when you have access to a GitHub repository directly, you're pushing it. You're sending it to what you have set as the origin, which we checked briefly with git remote -v. And you're saying, I want to push the master branch. Okay. Okay, so it says it did that. Now we can go back to this, the repo here, and there it is. Now all of our files are available online, and not only are they, I've set it to be public, but also it's a great way for me to keep track of my own progress working on a particular project, and in case something happens to my computer, everything is nice and safe on the internet.
And all the changes and commits that you made before you pushed it to GitHub are all there, right? It's not just like changes since you started as a GitHub repository.
I don't know actually. Are they?
Like if I make a bunch of commits and I have a bunch of version tracking and like working on it for months, and then I make it a GitHub repository, all of that information will be on GitHub. Right?
Yeah, 2 commits. It's showing.
It'll
And you
show
can see the various
what's-
commits.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. So here you go.
Yeah.
So I pushed it once, right? But it already shows I have one branch, I have 2 commits.
Yeah.
You see that?
So it's basically just like a place to store the repo that you've made in Git.
Yeah.
What's going on behind the scenes is that Git actually creates like a little folder, a document folder, and has like configurations and like all the different changes and the stashes and stuff like that. And then it keeps track of it. So when you push that into GitHub, it basically syncs that file.
Yeah.
So GitHub keeps track of that.
And it also keeps track of the
So this is how you sort of get your work that you've been working on locally onto GitHub. But what about like existing GitHub projects that you want to contribute to? That's very often, a lot of people collaborate in this way. So an example of a project where you might have that is the Cyber Wizard project. Wow. So all of you who agreed to be participants and are in that list, you should have push access to all of the repositories here. So an example, each one of these is a repository. And so in workshops, like this has, as you can see, 14 contributors, 14 different people have contributed content to it. This is where we keep all the slideshows. And I and all of you have push access to this one. That means that you're all trusted to commit code to our shared project. You don't have to ask anybody's permission or anything like that. So first, so here's how we're going to do it. On GitHub, find the Git URL to clone the repo. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy that repository from GitHub onto our local machine. So everything that's going to be in that repo on GitHub will be copied to our machine. So we do this by finding the Git URL, and it's over here off to the side. Okay? Copy that, and the way that you do it is back in your terminal, you do git clone, and then the Git URL. So let's do that here. I'll just make dir Cyber Wizard workshop. And we're gonna do git clone, and then the Git URL. Okay, so we've now cloned that repo into here. We do ls, clone the whole workshops directory. ls, and here's everything, and we can look at the vim, etc. So let's check git status, and now you can see our branch is up to date with the origin branch. So we know that we've got the latest version of whatever was happening there before. So we're going to make the changes that we want to make. In fact, what we're going to change is I'm going to go to the Git thing and delete the section about revert. Git checkout. And I'll just delete this. Check out previous commits and make new branches. Okay, that's our change to this particular workshop. And so now we do git status. It shows which file we've modified. And we're going to do git commit -am, revert to checkout in Git workshop. Okay, so we changed one file, 2 insertions, 3 deletions, but now we're out of sync with the remote file, right? Our own version is one step ahead of what's on GitHub. So what we're going to do is once we're ready to push, once we're ready to update the remote repository with what we added to it, you do git push origin master. Okay, and it worked. So now you can take a look here, refresh. You can see now latest commit was me before it was Substack. And you're not going to have push access. It's going to be limited to the number of collaborators, whoever started the file or the project, etc. But say you find someone else's code and you want to make a feature request, or you find a bug, and not a feature request, say you added functionality to their code, or if you found a bug and you want to correct it, or something like this. If that's the case, then you have to make a copy of it, work in your own copy, and then ask the person, hey, can you merge my copy into your copy? And doing that ask is called making a pull request. Will you pull my project into my changes into yours? So the way to do this is fork the repo you want to work with. So, wow. Okay. I feel like there was a Max Klein repo. Max, do you have a repo I'll make a pull request that you can, what are you, not confusing?
Yeah. I need repo.
Users. Whoops. There we go.
It's a juicy kiwi for you.
That is a nice kiwi. I'm gonna fork this one.
Okay.
That's it. You don't have to do anything. Thank
Okay.
you. So I really like this project, and I want to sort of play around with it on my own, look at the code, and how I would do that is, so right now, I don't have push access to this, only Max does. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a fork. And what a fork means is I'm going to make an exact copy from Max's GitHub account to my GitHub account, not my local account. I'm going to make one from his GitHub to my GitHub. MK30. Okay, so now you can see here is the MK30 version, and it says forked from, and then the link to the repository, right? But again, we don't have it on our local system to work with yet. It's just living in our GitHub. So we do a really similar thing to what we just did. Now that we've copied it to our computer, we do find the Git URL. Here it is. And we do git clone. Oops, where was it? Git clone. I'm just going to clone it right into here. Bad practice, don't do this. And so we do ls. And there it is, harvest info box book, copied into the middle of all these other files. Okay, and so here are all the files from that repo. And so now what we can do is the same thing that we did before. We make the changes that we want, commit on our local machine, and then git push origin. Well, we don't do, well, okay. Then we do git push origin master, which pushes our changes on our machine to our version of it, remote on our version of it on GitHub, not Max's version, right? And then once we do that, once we get our changes into our GitHub, we make a pull request for Max. So let's txt Max. Okay. So I added a file to his repo. Git status, I added, it shows the new file that I added. -am. Hi. Ah. Okay. Status, we're fine. So now we're gonna do git push or origin master. So that commit that we made locally with adding that text file is going to go to our version of the master. Now, this is, again, we're in our version. We're gonna refresh. It shows that I made a commit, and there's that file that I made right there. And it gives me a really important notice. It says this branch is one commit ahead of Not Confusing's master branch of this project. So I can go to, so the way you make a pull request, say I'm like, Max, I think it's really important that you add this hello file to your project. You go to the main repo that you forked from, not your fork, and click make a pull request. So I open that in another window. And where is...
The camera's been fucked up the whole time.
Oh
I never
no.
caught any of this.
What's that?
I think we caught any of your talk though. I mean, we did, but there's some Sony bullshit in Japanese that like, so we only get glimpses of the feed.
It's okay.
Okay, we might have to do this again. I think this has been okay.
Okay, why can I not make...
Stupid. Cameras shouldn't even have that. Turn them on and they should record. And if you turn them off,
Okay, you go to the pull requests area and you click new pull request. Alright, base branch, I forget. It should be, oh there you go, you have to select it. Okay. Alright, here we go. MK30 wants to merge one commit into Not Confusing Master from MK30 Master. So we're going to go to Not Confusing. Whoops. And we're going to look at his pull requests. And there they are. Now you can compare, take a look. And then Max can decide whether to incorporate my pull request of adding a high file or not. Okay? And you might receive pull requests on your own projects. And some things that I know about good sort of like practices when working with other people, especially when working with other people's files. Each time you return to, if you have a shared repository on GitHub, like CyberWizard, for example, each time, I leave and I come back to the workshops and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I want to modify this other thing in workshops. Before you start modifying in your folder, if you've been gone for a while, it's helpful to do git pull origin master just to make sure that you have the most up-to-date version, because things might have changed upstream since you last worked on this repo, and you want to make sure that you're working on the latest work that's up there so you don't get into any gnarly, weird states. Additionally, if you're contributing to an open source project that already exists, many of them have code review before your pull request can be merged. So that's why it's a real good idea to fork and work on your own branch so that you have your own copy. You keep going. If they say no, I don't want to include your code, you're like, fine, whatever, I'm going to use my version. So you're not dependent on them at all. And if you want to do homework, there are those 2 YouTube videos in the notes. And also there's this great node school called Git It that you're welcome to try. And make Git repos for your own projects, commit frequently, there is no cost, and share your work online. Thank you. Oh, I should end the stream.
Yep, I did.